I think it's extremely fascinating that right now we have the CIA and the U.S. president not only at odds with each other, but at each other's throats. And that's why in this video, we're going to look at exactly what's happening, the history of it, where it's going to go, and whether what's happening right now with the Ukraine scandal is like another Russiagate, which some media publications, special interests don't think so, while others say that, yes, it's absolutely yet another Russiagate. Now, as an independent media organization that has been covering Russiagate and has been slandered from it. And by the way, we're covering the Biden scandal all the way up till April of this year. We were talking about this testimony that, of course, all of this controversy surrounding Donald Trump with all the way back in February. But specifically, when it comes to Russiagate, I remember covering it, looking at the evidence, doing my research, doing my homework, and saying, this is absolutely nothing. As even CNN anchors said later, it was a nothing burger. But I remember looking at everything and being like, well, there's significant reason to doubt the intelligence agencies. They have nothing really concrete here. This is all kind of theories. And I called it out for what it was. And because of that, I was absolutely vilified. Our news organization was slandered. It was attacked. The mainstream media calling us Russian propagandist and fake news. The media even attacked us because once anyone could publish on our website if they just emailed us a coherent article. And once someone published an article that later we found out was actually forged and copy and pasted from other articles. But later the mainstream media connected to some random individual that we didn't even know to allegedly a Russian agent. This led them on a huge attack on us as an independent media organization, even though those forged articles didn't do anything. But even the Washington Post put us on a list as Russian fake news propagandists not to be believed. Wikipedia launched their attacks, which of course followed by soft censorship on social media, which still is affecting us very heavily on a story that we were always accurate about. The Russiagate story that we called out from the very early onset of it being brought to the national discourse almost 2 years ago now. I remember even at one particular time, just for one moment, questioning myself because of how confident the mainstream media and all the intelligence analysts were. And I was thinking maybe they have some evidence that we never saw, that somehow Trump did collude with Russia to cheat the presidential elections. And I remember even having that little sliver of doubt. Then again, that's just how bombastic and how convincing their coverage was. But again, we stuck to the facts. We saw the evidence and we called it like we saw it. And we were run through the mud because of it. And we are still dealing with the repercussions of it. But I think one thing that is very clear from the current Ukrainian scandal is that what we're being told, just like the Russiagate scandal, is most likely not 100% accurate. And the story that we're being told has a high probability of being totally different from what is happening behind the scenes. As even Bill Clinton admitted, that fictional, very dramatic series like The House of Cards is, quote, 99% real. Now we have to understand, during the current political scandal that is unfolding right now, we have two competing sides. Donald Trump in the executive office and, of course, the CIA. As Donald Trump just moments ago tweeted, quote, I think it's outrageous that a whistleblower is a CIA agent, quoting a member of Fox News. And I think the lines are very clear here. This is Trump embroiled with a conflict with a very secretive, unaccountable government agency. At least that's what it's being portrayed as. And I think it's worth looking into, specifically these two opposing sides and their history. As we know, personally, from my own perspective, there's not many reasons to trust the Central Intelligence Agency, since, of course, they play very dirty and have a history of extremely immoral actions like, shipping in cocaine into the United States, funding and creating terrorist groups. And hey, why not overthrow democratically elected leaders, which they have all throughout the world? Yeah, that Central Intelligence Agency, they don't have the best track record when it comes to this question of who is right and wrong, even though the mainstream media portrays them as the good guys here. They definitely don't have a history of being the good guys. There's even a top Democrat who on NBC said, imagine the CIA interfering in foreign elections, and that's how literally. How stupid do you think we are? Because that's literally what the CIA does. That's literally in the history books. That's unquestionable of what the CIA does. So when we have the CIA and their analysts being the main accusers against Donald Trump, trying to impeach him, you do have to wonder, gee, is there any foul play here? And unlike the mainstream media, it is important to doubt and question the Central Intelligence Agency here very rigorously. Now, people need to understand, as we covered on this YouTube channel before, that this is not the first spat that happened between Donald Trump and, of course, the Central Intelligence Agency. As previously before, Donald Trump promised to release many of the JFK assassination documents, which was postponed once again, and then ultimately not released, even though Donald Trump promised to release all of the documents. And the CIA, after having more than 50 years to review them, just said, no, we're not going to release them. And Donald Trump capitulated. Donald Trump set a deadline, said he was going to do something, asked the CIA and the intelligence agencies to do it, and they never did. Trump even boasted how he was going to open the JFK files, but now he publicly is saying that he can't. Now, before we get into that, plus a lot more, I wanted to remind everyone that we are directly under attack as an independent media organization. And if you believe in our work, if you believe in free speech, and you want to personally get involved, you could support us on subscribestar.com/wearechange. The link will be in the description below. And even just as little as $1 means the world to us and makes a huge amount of difference. Our goal is to destroy the mainstream media by being better than they are, and we can only do that with your support and contributions. So don't forget to be involved by clicking the link in the description below. Click it right now and support independent media and free thought. Now, it's important to understand here that the spats between intelligence officers and Trump have been happening for quite a while, and pretty often. As even in February of 2018, we had Phil Mudd on CNN, a former CNN counterterrorism official, go on and say, quote, that the FBI people were ticked off at Donald Trump while Donald Trump was around only for 13 months when they've been around since 1908, and that, quote, they're going to win against the current U.S. president, which shows you just how embedded, how powerful of institutions these intelligence organizations are within Washington, D.C., and just how brazen their kind of former colleagues are with kind of vitriolic language coming from these individuals that represent the CIA on the biggest fake news network out there, CNN, which, by the way, has a lot of ties with the CIA. Former CIA Director John Brennan even warned Donald Trump that his, quote, protective cocoon is temporary. And this was just in August of this year, before this whole controversy erupted. And of course, Donald Trump also pulled and stripped a security clearance from John Brennan, which John Brennan actually threatened to sue Donald Trump over. Joe Biden, in 2017 of January, even said that Trump going after the U.S. intelligence agencies is, quote, dangerous and mindless. And then, of course, all of us know the infamous quote from U.S. Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, where he said Trump is, quote, really dumb for attacking the intelligence agencies, even going as far as saying the intelligence agencies have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. Openly giving the U.S. president a threat on behest of the intelligence agencies, saying that there's going to be some kind of revenge plot against him. Saying this, of course, gleefully on Rachel Maddow's MSNBC, I was going to say news show, but it's really a new type of Jerry Springer show, to be completely honest with you. Their ratings, by the way, are flatlining after being completely wrong about Russian collusion. But I think it's pretty clear there's a lot of contention between the U.S. president and some of the people at the CIA. And when it comes to the CIA, especially with Chuck Schumer saying that there's going to be a revenge plot, we have to understand that these people lie, they cheat, and they steal. Admittedly, Even Donald Trump's Secretary of State, who Donald Trump wants to also make National Security Advisor, by the way, even he came out and said, quote, "We lie, we cheat, we steal. That's what we do at the CIA." Now, I think after all of that, it's pretty fair to assume that what is happening right now is, of course, extremely political, has nothing to do with fighting corruption, has nothing to do with Ukraine, but has everything to do with the personal spat that the president has with the intelligence agencies. I think that's a fair assumption to make here. And also, just on the bare fact, as we mentioned at the beginning of this whole scandal erupting, that this is just literally Trump being punished for trying to look up the actual corruption of another person he's running against. Trump's getting punished for looking up dirt against this political opponent, which is absolutely ridiculous. And again, there's a lot of other instances, even going back all the way to 1997, where the CIA played really dirty tricks with the Democratic Party. We have to understand that in this particular instance, when it comes to Ukraine, the U.S. representative leading the charge against this, Adam Schiff on the Democratic side, according to the New York Times, even got early access and an early account of the accusations against Donald Trump by meeting with this whistleblower before any of this information was even made public. Some argue that Adam Schiff even helped, another special interest helped write the complaint against Donald Trump, which was very professionally done, citing many legal proceedings beforehand. And even according to CNN, this CIA analysis is also a registered Democrat, which would show more political bias in this entire case, which is absolutely true. Now, if you look at Trump's administration and his time in office, it has been plagued with many leaks against him, very embarrassing leaks, more leaks than I have seen against any modern day president. Barack Obama, by the way, the president before him, was known for punishing whistleblowers and leakers, sending them to jail, imprisoning them, using the Espionage Act more than all the other presidents before him combined against leakers. Donald Trump, to be honest, I'm not a supporter of his, but he hasn't taken as egregious and as strong of actions as Obama has when it comes to whistleblowers. And Donald Trump, even from just looking at his entire time of office, has had many leaks within his administration, which again points to the bigger kind of internal conflict happening here. Now, Donald Trump hasn't handled this conflict that well. I mean, especially when you decide to put Rudy Giuliani and Newt Gingrich as the forefront of your defense. That's not good. It also wasn't smart of Donald Trump to make comments saying that the whistleblower is a spy and that you know what we do to spies. Many people also point to Donald Trump moving this particular conversation that he had with the Ukrainian president over to classified storage. Now, Donald Trump, of course, did make a portion of the transcript public after these accusations came out against him, but I think it's fair to say that he is definitely not handling this situation well, to be completely honest. Now, the way the media kind of frames all of this is very interesting, as the, quote, impeachable offense is not even impeachable anymore, as they're trying to, again, they're just grasping at the straws here, and it's kind of pathetic, but now they're saying that Trump's statement that I just mentioned before, calling the whistleblower spy, that's what's impeachable now. And again, this is just absolutely ridiculous and just really not genuine, to say the least. Now, during this entire scandal, it's important to understand that the Ukrainian prosecutor that was fired by Joe Biden, admittedly, was investigating his son, and under sworn testimony, that could be held liable for perjury, the Ukrainian prosecutor that was fired by Joe Biden said that, yes, he was looking into this energy company that Joe Biden's son was getting paid a lucrative salary with, and that it was because of this investigation, not of corruption, that, of course, ultimately led to his firing in Ukraine. I think it's very clear here, yes, Donald Trump did ask a foreign country to investigate corruption. And in the larger scale of things, I don't think that's... I mean, seriously, is that really... there's a lot of things you could criticize Donald Trump on, specifically the war in Yemen, which he should be very criticized about, specifically about Saudi. I could keep going on. I could keep going on and on about things that I don't like about Trump that he should legitimately be held accountable for. But this is absolutely ridiculous. Donald Trump has even admittedly talked about this. He's saying, yeah, he welcomes all investigation into corruption of U.S. officials. It's pretty clear the president wanted Biden investigated in Ukraine. Trump even suggested that China should investigate Joe Biden and his son because of, again, other political acts that clearly benefited Joe Biden's son with very lucrative contracts. And it was just announced a couple of moments ago that Ukraine's top prosecutor is reopening the corruption case surrounding this energy company that Joe Biden's son was a part of. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a topic that we will not forget as Democrats are still holding impeachment hearings. And ultimately, I agree that this is, again, going to shoot them in the foot, just like the whole Russian collusion. And this leads to a bunch of other theories, whether this is somehow Trump's doing, since this is going to benefit Donald Trump. Just like the whole Russian collusion narrative, when it broke down, it helped Donald Trump. It was a big egg on the face of the intelligence community, the mainstream media, and the Democrats that ultimately were fooling everyone for over 2 years. And I believe that this is going to happen again. And even though the CIA has a very, very, very bad track record, we also have to understand that they're not always competent. And throughout history, they have gotten many things wrong. And this is a possibility here that we should understand that could be somehow of Trump's doing to benefit him, or just really desperate, incompetent people just shooting themselves in the foot. As even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who led the charge of impeachment, literally led the charge, if it wasn't for her, and the squad and their cause of impeachment, which was puppeteered by Nancy Pelosi, they were the originators of this major call. And now even AOC is saying that she's over it, that it's boring because it's clearly not going to work. Another theory that people had was that this was the squad trying to get rid of the old Democratic Guard wing of their party and used this kind of call for impeachment to put more pressure on Joe Biden, which obviously this has a lot of pressure on Joe Biden because it's uncovering a lot of skeletons in Joe Biden's closet, that this was some kind of way to push forward a candidate that would have more of a viable chance against Donald Trump. Because Joe Biden literally looks like John Kerry 2.0. He kind of even looks like the Tin Man. But the overall theory was that this was some kind of way to throw Joe Biden under the bus to allow someone like Elizabeth Warren and others who some people perceive would have a better chance against Donald Trump in the upcoming election to win the candidacy. Now, with all these theories, what do you think? There's two other aspects that I think we should entertain here before jumping to conclusions, and one of them is that the mainstream media is completely untrustworthy and delusional and will do anything for clicks. And even though they like to attack Trump, we have to admit, if it wasn't for Trump, the mainstream media industry would be absolutely in the hole. And only because of Trump and his antics is the mainstream media still somehow alive. And he's a lot more popular than the mainstream media likes to admit. They like to make him a boogeyman because it's very profitable to make him a boogeyman. But if you look at the money raised in the third quarter of fundraising, if you compare the amount of money that the Democrats brought in compared to the money that Trump has brought in, there's a big difference here. With Trump bringing in $125 million in the third quarter compared to, of course, the top donor, the top donated candidate, Bernie Sanders, who only got $25 million in that same amount of time. The last thing we should kind of look into is, of course, Donald Trump's unwillingness to start a war, as it came out recently that he made the decision to strike Iran and then suddenly canceled it. We have many war hawks who were mad at him, but at the same time, he has also acted in ways that were very unpredictable that worked towards the greater benefit of the deep state, including even bombing another country, including escalating tensions, including raising sanctions and economic warfare on many of the countries that geopolitically stand opposed to U.S. deep state interests. And many times he has gone away from his political campaign promises that he was running on and has directly kind of turned his back on the bigger promises that he was going to go after the deep state, which he hasn't, which is something that we need to understand here as well. So the situation is very unpredictable, but from my own personal take on it, I just see Donald Trump kind of flip-flopping, as he admittedly said that he represents himself as a globalist and a nationalist. And I believe there's a bigger tug of war that Donald Trump is stuck in, and he is flip-flopping between the two. Last minute saying that he's going to bomb something, then saying that he's not going to bomb something, bombing this country but not bombing that country, starting economic sanctions here, supporting Saudi Arabia here, unquestionably supporting whatever Israel wants to do. Ultimately, foreign policy-wise, creating a very conflicted view of the world, but essentially still flip-flopping with the special interests of the deep state. So yeah, that's my take on it. What do you think? I very much look forward to your comments in the description below. Thank you again, all you amazing human beings, for staying with me up until this long, and also supporting us on subscribestar.com/WeAreChange. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Your support is more critical than ever. We love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.